My name is Noah. When I was 5, a fire took my parents and my world. I lost more than home. I lost warmth and love. After the funeral, I moved in with my uncle. He didn't want me, but said he had no choice. He already had 3 sons of his own. They gave me the attic. No window, no heat, just a thin mattress. Cold wind came through cracks. I cried myself to sleep every night. They had jackets and desserts. I had silence and secondhand clothes. They called me names and made it clear I didn't belong in their family. I cleaned floors, hoping to be accepted. They laughed. They mocked my clothes, hid my shoes. Once, they locked me out for coming home late. No one cared if I ate or had homework. They just wanted me gone. I stayed quiet. I stayed small. My only escape was reading. I read old newspapers, torn books, anything I could find. I didn't have toys, but I had curiosity. I dreamed of being in a hospital. I sat in the front row at school, answered questions, and smiled when teachers saw me. I had only bread for lunch, but never complained. One winter, I got sick and stayed in bed for 3 days. No one asked if I was okay. I whispered stories to heal myself. I remembered my mom's voice, her laughter, how she called me brave when we had only dreams. That memory became my reason to keep going. At 12, I won the science fair. I made a project about the heart using cardboard. No one from my family came, but my teacher cried. She told me I'd change the world. I held on to her words like gold. In that house, praise was rare. Belief was even rarer. My cousins rolled their eyes, but I kept learning. At 14, I got a job at a library just to be around books and peace. I read about diseases, healing, and how doctors gave people hope. Mrs. Clark, the librarian, noticed me and saved old medical books in a box. I read them under my blanket at night with a flashlight. I woke early, folded my blanket, cleaned my attic, and walked to school. Rain soaked me sometimes, but I never missed class, even with a fever. I sat in front, took notes, and asked questions without fear. My cousins skipped school and got into fights. They came home angry, blamed everyone, and shouted at me. My uncle did nothing but punished me. He never praised my grades, never asked what I dreamed of, just said to wash more dishes. But I kept studying, even when I was tired. Mrs. Clark helped me practice speaking. She said I had both brains and heart, and warned me to guard my heart from bitterness and hate. Her words gave me hope. I won awards, joined clubs, wrote papers. My attic walls were full of certificates. Downstairs, no one ever mentioned my name. I got into a summer program at a hospital. My first time seeing doctors work. I cleaned floors, brought coffee, helped without complaining. The head doctor noticed me, gave me books, asked questions, taught me things about life that weren't in books. I wrote his words in my journal. He said medicine was about care, patience, and understanding pain. I read his words every night. At 17, I got a full scholarship to university. I showed my uncle the letter. He said, "Doctors need money. We don't have that. Don't dream." I smiled quietly and packed my things upstairs. Mrs. Clark drove me to the city, helped me move in, hugged me like a mother and said, "Go change the world." Noah, I held her words close. I was ready to suffer, fight, and turn pain into something good. In college, I worked hard and took extra classes. I volunteered at clinics and met people from everywhere, rich and poor, broken and strong. I listened to their stories and learned from them. I never forgot the attic, never forgot the silence. I just kept going. My cousins dropped out and blamed others. I stayed quiet and focused. At 22, I graduated with honors. No family came, But Mrs. Clark did. Her tears meant more than any words I ever heard. That day, I walked across the stage with shaking hands and a full heart. They called my name and gave me a medal. I felt seen. I thought of my parents, hoped they were proud. The boy from the attic was now a doctor, not from luck, but because he never quit. My first days in the hospital were filled with fear. Other students moved with confidence. I stayed quiet and watched every step carefully. I wrote everything in my notebook, even how nurses smiled to ease pain. I practiced on plastic arms for hours, repeating steps until they felt natural. At night, I spoke to the mirror, pretending I was talking to real patients. One day, a weak patient called my name and asked me to sit. He shared stories about his life and family, said no one visited anymore. I stayed longer that day, just to listen and let him feel heard. The nurses saw me do that often. One of them smiled and simply said, "Thanks." I didn't know why, but her words moved me deeply. It reminded me of my childhood, how one smile made the darkness feel soft. I realized healing wasn't just about medicine, it was about being human. I started helping lead student rounds, organizing notes, and explaining cases. Some asked how I got so good. I just smiled and said I loved learning, but the truth was deeper. It came from years of pain and quiet strength. After a year, I received a small honor for patient care. It wasn't grand, but it meant everything. The patients said I made them feel seen, like more than just pain. That night, I cried alone. I held the paper like gold. Outside, the world rushed by parties, success, ambition. I moved slowly, but I never stopped. I kept learning in the ER, école. I watched pain every day. It shaped me more than any book could. Some nights, I walked home through empty streets, my head full of thoughts. I thought about my cousins who once laughed at me. Now, they messaged asking for help, for advice. I helped when I could, but remembered the past. I had come far from the attic. I finished medical school top of my class. I was offered a place at a major hospital. People now called me Dr. Noah. Some wanted to learn beside me, but I stayed grounded cleaning my space, saying thank you, avoiding pride. My first real surgery was unforgettable. Hands trembling, eyes steady. I thought of my mother cleaning floors just to feed me. I wished she could see me. She always said I'd be great. Now, I was proving her right. At a city event, I gave a talk about medicine and my journey. People came up afterward to thank me. A woman said her son had lost hope, but now wanted to try again. That moment meant everything. It felt like my pain had become a gift. I began working in remote towns, opening clinics, training young students, and giving free care to the poor. The children reminded me of myself quiet, scared, dreaming. I told them, don't stop. One day, your pain will be your power. One evening, a boy gave me a wrinkled note. Thank you for saving my sister. I want to be like you. I kept it in my pocket. Next to it, I carried a photo of my mother and my first hospital badge. In that moment, I knew I had become more than a doctor. I had become hope. The hospital grew fast, new staff, new buildings. I became a senior doctor, leading a team of kind, dedicated minds. We worked long shifts together. Our patients came from everywhere, poor and desperate. I always asked their stories, gave them time, and offered gentle care. Some had no shoes, no food, no money, but I treated them with dignity. I smiled, listened, and made them feel like royalty. One winter, we lost power. The hospital grew cold. Machines stopped, but we stayed calm. We used flashlights and simple tools to treat injuries. That night, a woman gave birth in darkness. Nurses held lamps above her, She named the baby after me and called me family. I cried. I remembered the time I felt like her alone, cold, unseen. Now I was the one giving warmth, the one who stayed when others left. I began traveling to teach in other cities. I trained doctors in rural areas. One boy said, "I want to help the poor, like you." That made me smile. I had once whispered the same thing in bed. I met famous doctors, but some lacked heart. They chased money and praise. I talked about listening, staying late, holding hands. Some laughed, but others followed my lead. Kindness was spreading, not just medicine. One morning, I was called to the director's office, flowers on his desk. He said I'd won an award for silent impact and deep care. Patients had written long letters about me full of thanks and tears. I thanked him with both hands on my chest. But the award didn't change me. I still cleaned my tools, still checked every chart, still folded blankets. I didn't want to be best by name. I wanted to truly heal. I saved money over time, not for things, but for purpose. I bought a small building downtown and opened a free clinic for poor children. We gave food, water, and care. Volunteers came weekly. The clinic became a place of calm, colors, and kindness. The news wrote about it. Photos of smiling children and hugs filled the stories. One photo of me holding a child went viral. People from abroad wrote letters of thanks. But behind all the praise, I walked home quietly each night. I kept my mother's photo and one of the attic room. I remembered my past. I heard my cousin's old laughter in my mind, but now I used that pain as fuel to lift others. I met a woman named Elise. She was a nurse, gentle, strong, quiet. We talked over coffee, shared past wounds. She didn't care for titles, only for people. I loved that. Weeks became months. Her presence became my peace. We laughed, read, cooked, played with children at my clinic. I knew she was the one. I proposed in the clinic's garden using flowers grown by the children. Elise cried before saying yes and hugged me tightly with both hands. We had a simple spring wedding, just close friends and nurses. No gold, no loud music, only sun, smiles, and love in every heart. Years passed. We kept working with calm, steady hearts. We adopted 2 orphan girls from the city, big-eyed, soft-handed children who reminded me of myself. I promised to be the father I never had. We gave them stories and dreams. In return, they gave us endless love and bright laughter. Now I walk through the clinic and see colors, drawings, and joy. Patients read while waiting. Children sketch on walls with crayons and chalk. Doctors here are kind, not just smart. They speak gently and listen fully. I see pieces of my old story in their new beginnings. At night, Elise holds my hand. We talk about everything, small moments and big dreams. She says she's proud of me. I say I'm proud of us. From a cold attic to a warm home, from hunger to healing, from pain to peace. I wasn't just made into a doctor, but into a man. Each morning, I stand by the window holding tea. Elise reads nearby. Our daughters play on the floor. The house is warm, filled with quiet joy. I look around and smile, remembering how far we came. I still wear my old coat. I still walk to the clinic each day. The streets are familiar. People wave and smile. Children call my name. Their mothers look at me with eyes full of thanks and quiet love. I never saw myself as a hero, but I knew I made a difference. Some patients bring gifts, apples or flowers in brown paper. Others come just to say hello. One boy brought his exam paper, hugged me, and said I made him believe in himself. I hung it up, right beside my mother's photo, faded and full of grace. At night, I tell Elise clinic stories. We laugh at funny ones, cry at the hard ones. She listens with gentle hands and kind eyes. She reminds me that healing isn't just science, it's staying, listening, and loving through every moment. I often remember the attic, the hunger, the tears, the nights my cousins mocked me and I cried myself to sleep in silence. Now they send messages saying they're proud. They say they knew I'd succeed. But I remember the way they turned their backs. I forgave them long ago. Amshao, not for them, but to free my heart. Carrying pain too long is heavy. Forgiveness helped me breathe again. I never wanted revenge or applause. I just wanted to build something lasting, something that healed, something my mother would be proud of. I began mentoring new doctors, young, nervous, full of questions. I taught them to speak kindly, to meet every gaze, to ask before touching. I told them kindness matters, even when you're tired or behind. When patients smile as they leave, that's the real reward. We opened a school nearby, free for poor children. Elise helped set up the books and classes. Our girls read to the younger ones. Every Friday, I gathered the children and told them my story, the story of the attic boy turned doctor. They listened with wide eyes. They asked how I became who I was. I told them pain isn't the end. It's the start of a stronger road. Even if no one believes in you, believe in yourself. Never let go of your light. That's something no one can take from you. Some nights, I dream of my mother. She calls my name from far away, smiles without words, and gently touches my cheek with soft fingers. I wake up with tears but peace in my chest. I whisper into the darkness, I made it, Mama. And I hope somehow she hears me. The life I live now wasn't easy. It was built from silence, from empty nights, from books read under blankets, from kindness I never forgot. Every scar became a seed. Every tear watered the strength I carry today. I walk slowly, but I walk with purpose and peace in my soul. When I enter the clinic, children run to greet me. Some hug my legs. Others just smile. They don't see a doctor. They see a friend. They see someone who listens, who remembers what it's like to feel small. I bend down, speak softly, and tell them they matter. Every single one. We keep food ready in the corner. Blankets, too. Some children come hungry or scared. We give them what I once needed: safety, warmth, and care. I train nurses to treat each case like their own family. I remind my staff daily healing starts before medicine with a look, a word, a hand. Every week, we host health talks. Mothers gather in small chairs. Fathers lean at the back. I teach with stories, not charts. I make science human. The children sit on the floor, crayons in hand, drawing while I speak. Their eyes shine with hope, the kind I once only imagined. Some days I walk alone behind the building and look up. I whisper thanks to the stars, to the wind, to the past that made me. Not all wounds leave marks on skin. Some shape the heart. Mine is full not because I had much, but because I turned little into love. I don't need awards. I don't need statues. I just need to know that someone out there feels seen because I stayed, because I didn't quit. And if one more child believes in their dream because I walked this road, then every cold night, every cruel word, every tear was worth it. In a journal I keep beside my bed, I write one line each night before sleep. Sometimes it's just a sentence. Sometimes it's a prayer. Often I write, be gentle. Someone is hurting. Or, keep going. You've come too far to stop now. Or, turn your scars into lamps. I teach these words to my daughters too. I tell them strength isn't loud. It's steady. It's quiet. It's in the hand that stays behind. It's in holding the broken without judgment. In staying late when you're tired. In cleaning without being asked. In never forgetting who you are. One day, they'll grow up and leave this small home. this clinic filled with color and compassion. But I know they'll carry the spirit with them, because love planted in pain grows deep, deeper than fear, stronger than shame. I see it in their eyes when they read to the others. I see it in Elise when she gently checks a wound. I feel it in myself when I listen with my whole soul, not just my ears. I'm not the smartest, I'm not the fastest, but I've loved with all I have. And in the end, that's what healing truly means. This story isn't special because it's mine. It's special because it shows what's possible. That from nothing, you can create beauty. From silence, you can sing. I started as a boy in an attic with nothing but books and dreams. Now, I am a man surrounded by light, by people, by love. And if I could go back and tell that boy anything, I'd say this: hold on. The world may be cruel, but you are kind. You are strong. Not because you never cried, but because you kept going anyway. That is how a heart becomes unbreakable slowly, softly, through faith and fire. And today, I still believe what my mother once whispered: you are meant for more. I finally understand what she meant. Because more doesn't mean fame, it means purpose. It means helping one person stand again. It means being the hand you once wished for. So if you're listening now, if you're struggling, if you feel alone, remember this: your pain is not the end. It's the beginning of your story. Write it with courage. Speak it with kindness. Live it with love. And never forget, no matter where you start, light is always possible, even from the attic.